Contents of the Made by Mindy 3D Keepsake Kit. Step 1, we have alginate. Step 2, we have plaster. Then we also have a stirring stick, a paintbrush and a super glue. And we also have a gold and a silver paint pot, a paper version of the instructions, and a white shadow box frame. Things you will need: a plastic container about the size of a yogurt pot. This is what I use for babies aged 0 to 6 months. And a container about the size of a margarine pot. This is what I would use for a 0 to 6 month baby foot. A jug that you can mix the material in, and a whisk. Step 1, mixing the alginate. I would recommend using tepid water. Remember, the hotter the water, the quicker the alginate would set. Fill your container 3/4 way full, and this is how much water I would use for 180 grams worth of alginate. Pour the full amount into your mixing jug and pour the full contents of 180 grams worth of alginate powder into this jug. Remember, you have to work relatively quick, but you still have time, so do not panic. Here you can see I'm just going to open the whole packet, start to tip into the jug and whisk. This alginate has a colour indicator, so the bright pink colour means that the material is still workable. Time is of the essence here, so mix this mixture until you have a smooth paste and you're happy that you don't have any lumps in it. Once you are happy with the smooth consistency of this paste, you can pour this mixture back into the container and make sure that you tap the container a few times to make sure that you get rid of any air bubbles. And this is what it should look like before you dip your baby's hand into this container for the mould. This is a position that I have babies in to have a cast made of their hand, and at this point you just wait till the mixture turns white. Repeat step 1, and this time pour your mixture into the margarine size container for the foot mould. This is a position I use to cast baby's foot. Make sure when taking cast that the baby's hand or foot is not touching the container or the sides, as this will ruin the casting impression and the first step of taking your mould. Here, just wait again till it turns white and then gently just pull the foot out and you will see it comes out clear. Step 1 of the casting kit is done, and this is what your mould should look like. Now on to step 2. I'm going to use cold water this time and measure approximately 100 millilitres of water into this jug. Pour the full contents of step 2, that should be 180 grams of plaster, into the jug and begin to whisk. Whisk this again until you have a nice smooth texture and you don't have any lumps or any bumps in this mixture. So you can see here I'm just using a whisk again and just whisking that until I have a nice smooth consistency. Now I'm going to begin to pour that plaster into the initial moulds that we took. A top tip here would be pour your mixture of plaster into your moulds bit by bit. You can see here I'm pouring it in little sections and shaking the tub just to make sure that I'm filling all the space inside. After you've filled the tub to the top, give it a shake to make sure that any air bubbles release and come to the top of the surface. Again, I'm repeating this process for the hand mold, making sure that I pour material in, tip it upside down as well, just to make sure that I'm getting all that plaster in the little nooks and crannies of our mold. This is essential to making sure that we don't have any missing fingertips when we open our cast. So you want to make sure that plaster really does go into every little nook and cranny, every little mold of the fingers, the fingertips, so we can capture all of that lovely detail that we took. Once you fill the mould, leave this to set. This should approximately take around about 2 to 3 hours, and you'll be able to see when the plaster is set. Once the plaster has set, you can see here, you can start to peel away the alginate material to reveal your beautiful cast inside. Be careful when you do this. Make sure that you gently peel away the alginate. You might have a little bit of artifacts still on the actual original cast. Don't worry about this. You can use a toothpick to take away some of the artifacts, and once you've finished taking away majority of the material, you can also give it a quick wash under the water. This will not damage your plaster cast, and again, it will just help you remove any of the unwanted material left on your cast. Repeat this step for your second mould as well, so you can start to peel away the alginate to reveal your foot cast inside. Allow 24 hours for the casts to dry. So you have a lovely hand and foot cast here ready. Now you want to make sure that these fit in the frame that's given. I use a professional sanding machine as a professional live caster. but you won't have one of these. So the next best thing is a grater, which you should have in your kitchen. So we're going to use this to start sanding down our cast. So you can use this to smooth out any rough edges, but more importantly, we want to use this grater so we can sand down the back of the cast. The reason why we're sanding this down is so it leaves a nice flat surface. It will make it easier for you to stick the cast inside the frame, and also to make sure that your cast will fit inside the frame. Sand this down to the point where you're happy with how the cast sits inside your frame. Repeat this step for your foot cast also. You can leave your casts white or choose to paint them gold or silver, and then let this dry for at least about an hour. A professional tip: if you want your cast to have a nice gold or silver shimmery metallic effect, I would recommend this gilding wax, which you can get from Hobbycraft for £4, which is really good value for money. This is really easy to use. You can either use a brush or you can use a sponge. Dip this into the gilding wax and get a good coverage, and then just simply start to rub this along your cast, and you will see the difference that it makes. It gives it a really lovely shimmery metallic coating, and it gives it a really good coverage as well. So you'll see here it will start to add that lovely shimmery effect to your cast, which will give it a really nice finishing touch. Repeat this process of painting and using the gilding wax on your hand cast also to give it that lovely shimmery effect. The final step: use super glue, araldite or no nails glue to stick your cast inside your frame. Let this dry for 24 hours and enjoy your beautiful keepsake.